Hey, Dallas. How are you doing today? It's been a day for me. And I think that's what's happening right now. Some days are just more dramatic than others. And that's why I'm especially happy to have my amazing guest on today, because she brings warmth and class, and she brings a sense of calm to everybody that she touches. Her name is Marianna Adams, and she is the founder of White Rock Yoga. It's like a tongue twister, Marianna.
It is.
I had to White Rock Yoga, but I got it. Thank you so much for being here today. She's going to inspire us with her journey and her yoga practice and everything that she teaches and guides people through. Hello.
Hey, how are you, Carrie?
I'm great. And I told you earlier, I'm especially happy this is the day that you're meant to be here, because as I was fielding calls this morning from very stressed out people and assuming the stress myself, I thought, but Marianna's going to be on today and she's going to make everything all right. So thank you so much for being here, especially today.
We have that history of finding each other at the right moments, you know?
I swear, I really, if divine intervention wasn't something I believed in before, when it comes to my relationship with you, I certainly believe in it now. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So yes, thank you. Tell everybody, how are you and how are you dealing with the current state of affairs?
I'm actually great. The only times I feel sad or upset is when I start to realize and think about all the people who are struggling. I'm so fortunate right now. And so I'm doing everything I can to help other people, to do things to make it easier for other people. I can't, I don't feel like I'm doing much, but at least every time I see an opportunity that I think will work for me and work for us. And part of it is through the yoga. I'm finding that, keeping that practice for me personally, but also with my students, has been a real grounding process. But I will tell you that the image that helps me, and it's so great, this little partial graphic behind me here, and you guys can Google, is Shiva Nataraja, Shivanataraja, Nataraja. It's the Lord of the cosmic dance. And you might be able to see this whirling, crazy guy in the middle of a circle of fire. And he's got arms and everything going on. And so he's essentially, there's many messages within that. So the symbolism is amazing. But he's essentially saying, this is the cosmic dance. I am the Lord of the cosmic dance. You are the Lord of the cosmic dance. You are in that circle of fire, dancing that crazy dance. And he's talking about how it's not about trying to make everything be still, because you see his dreadlocks are just flying out, and it's kind of like he's spinning so fast that the dreadlocks appear to be still. It's that sense of when you whip around, things start to freeze like a fan blade. And he says it's about managing the chaos in this perfectly imperfect world, not try to make the chaos go away. And my teacher, Todd Norian, talks a lot about surfing the waves. So life, and it reminds me of this great quote from a Jane Austen novel, Persuasion, and I love it. It's the women are talking with the men in the Navy, and they're all saying about how, I can't believe you went out on the ship with your husband. And she says, I hate to hear you talk about all women as if they were fine ladies instead of rational creatures. None of us want to be in calm waters all our lives. Ooh. And I mean, that's so ahead of her time. Jane Austen was this sort of wild game theorist, feminist kind of person in so many ways. But it's like that, well, if it's true, then these aren't calm waters. So it's about surfing, staying on the board, and the balance is always going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. Course correct, all the time. So that's how I'm dealing with it, is remembering the lessons in Shiva Nataraj.
Brilliant.
Well, that's my teacher, Todd Norian, who taught me that. So he was brilliant. I just happened to remember.
Thank you, Todd. That was brilliant. What led you into yoga? Because I know there's a story there as well.
Well, I was thinking about that. And actually, the first word that came to me before I even got rational or logical about it was dance. So I've always loved dance. I've never been a professional dancer, but always danced, loved danced, any kind of dance, any kind of movement, rhythm, music, the physical movement of the body. So it's no accident that I was kind of attracted to a style of yoga, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but a style of yoga that honored and supported the characteristics of dance that I love the most. And one is attention to physical technique, like how do you do something and how do you make it look beautiful and sharp and clear, plus this whole expressive component, that it's not just let me do a dance, but it's like I am trying to communicate something through that dance. I'm trying to say something physically with my body. And I've always been involved in the arts, visual and performing arts. And I also have this part of my background's about multidisciplinary arts therapy. So I did a little bit of study, tiny little bit of study, thought about going in that direction, but mainly just have it as a love. But it's that whole notion that the arts can heal. So when the style of yoga that I'm attracted to is a yoga style that yoga can heal you, that it can heal you physically. Yes, we can take your aches and pains and help you understand them and figure out what to do with them and how you can have a full life with it. And, by my age at 71, you can get up and down off the floor without too much groaning. I do a tiny little bit of groaning. I call it the opposite. The moan is the opposite of ohm. It's just a flip, It's just a form of ohming, just moaning as I get up. But it's minimal ohming. at any rate, so it's that therapeutic part. But mainly we were talking earlier about around age 45, I realized I couldn't sustain the kind of craziness in my life that I would call it a drama junkie to some degree. I mean, I would feed on the drama a bit. And so I sought something that would just help me calm down. And other people will say, oh, you're so calm. It's like, I don't always feel that calm. But I also know I wasn't always that calm. And I say, well, you should see me when I'm off my yoga meds. Like, it's just it's a little crazy. It's pretty intense.
Sometimes, we are great at exuding the best part of ourselves to others. And so maybe if you don't feel that way internally, you certainly make others feel that way. So that's a gift. And I wish it for yourself internally as well, because it's certainly a gift for those of us that get to experience being with you. Talk about your focus on shia yoga and why what drew you to it. You've told us about, but what are the principles behind this practice?
So it's interesting. I'd never really thought about that question right after the question of what drew me to yoga and the whole notion of dance. And I think that what shia yoga does is it marries the alignment principles. So we pay a lot of attention to alignment. We're not a flow. If we do flow at all, it's very slow flow. But it's being aware, because I see so many people when they're moving fast, they're hunching their shoulders over and they're just going to blow out their rotator cuff and pay me now, pay me later. It will happen at some point if you don't set everything back in its place and hug the muscles in and all of those actions that we do in shia yoga. But it's not just about physical alignment. That's a huge part of it. But it's alignment, body, mind, spirit. So here's the way I like to think about it, my favorite metaphor. In my earlier, younger, crazier days, when I would wear 5-inch spiked shoes, I was living in Miami, we did that then. But, and in the 80s and 90s, I would wear these 5-inch spiked heels. And there's no way you can get a comfortable 5-inch spiked heel. There's just no way that's going to happen. And there's no way that after you walk in those things for more than 10 minutes, the time it takes to try them on in the store, that your body's not going to shift and you're not going to you start to feel cranky, and and if the shoes are pinching or rubbing or all, it's so interesting how many years it's been since I haven't had a blister. But in my younger days, I would have blisters from shoes all the time, but it just upsets your whole day. You're cranky with others, you're irritable. You throw your body forward or back, or something's weird. You get something off, you start to have back aches. Everything just kind of goes to hell and back. when you have the wrong shoes. So if you're not in good physical alignment, it's pretty much impossible to be in good alignment with others, in good alignment with your spiritual self, that which is higher, however you define that, which is greater than we are. Call it nature, call it universe, call it God, whatever works for you. It's something beyond us that we don't quite understand.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I've never thought of it that way. But yeah, when you feel better physically, the whole world looks totally different. I mean, it really does.
It does.
Okay, I love that. I'm going to take that. Can you give, like, that's really so smart. Can you give us some ideas on how we can incorporate yoga into our daily routines? I know that you have some awesome pamphlets that you've created, which if any of you at home want them, she goes through all these different exercises that you can do when you wake up, and then you've got anywhere yoga. But talk to us a little bit about how we can infuse it into our day.
So, to some degree, that's a challenge we all deal with, is to keep a regular practice, to keep it in our practice. So I would say the best way to start is to take classes or take private sessions, depending on how you feel about classes. I love the community of classes. It's so important to me, the whole sense. But I also think private sessions are good as well. But beyond that, for me, yoga is about a state of mind. So you can infuse what I call bits of yoga into your everyday life. When you're putting the water on to boil or waiting for the coffee maker or whatever it is you do in the morning, can you stand there and take some nice, deep, slow breaths? So that's a yogic principle of connecting with yourself, connecting with how you see yourself in the world. And I think, too, it's a matter, we do a lot of, I do this a lot in my classes, of thinking, how can you take what you're doing here on your yoga mat off your mat?
Yeah.
It's as a former English teacher, everything's a metaphor. So I look for metaphors all the time. But if I can stay steady, say in a difficult pose, a balance pose, and steady doesn't mean I'm stock still and I don't fall out of it, but it means I can keep my focus, I can keep my breath. If I lose my balance, I just come back up and reset. It's that process of I see people, they'll do a balance pose and they'll go, if not actually, they get internally very frustrated with themselves. And it's like occasionally people will bring their 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old children who really want to come. And it's quite a beautiful sight, because when they fall out of the pose, they giggle.
Right.
And for me, that's the right answer. So I think that it's like, I can still keep my focus, my sense of humor. That's for me as a regular practice of yoga, and the breath. So when things get challenging, we often hold our breath, lose our focus, and totally lose our sense of humor. If on the mat, I can practice challenging for me, maybe not for someone else, but for me, poses that are challenging, then I have a half a chance of doing it off the mat.
Yeah.
But it's my little microcosm. So I don't know if that answers your question necessarily about how to infuse it, but I just think of it as it doesn't always have to involve a mat and sitting cross-legged.
Right. It's not just the poses.
It can involve standing on one foot while you're waiting for the water to boil and practicing your balance with your breath, with your focus, with your connection.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I see what you're saying. That's really, really, yeah, I see that. So just being mindful about sort of how you're standing and also how you're responding to things is huge as well. Okay.
Same thing for when someone's getting on your last nerve. You just stand there. It doesn't mean I have to necessarily think it's wonderful, but it's a kind of surrender to the process and saying, okay, well, this person's clearly agitated, probably terrified, especially right now. A lot of what I might call misbehavior or odd behavior is coming out of true fear, just absolute numbing fear. And when I think about that, I tend to have more compassion and just say, all right, let's see how we can help you through this,
Yeah. And it gives us an opportunity, those of us that can rise to it at least some of the time, because none of us rise to it all of the time, to be there as support systems for those that are having a hard time that day. Okay, I love that. You were one of the first people that I saw take your classes online, and which does not surprise me to know you, because you are a risk taker for sure, and you do the most, you just put yourself in interesting situations all the time. But I remember I opened up Facebook one day and I was like, Marianna's online. I mean, that's amazing. So how can people, I was so proud of you. And a lot of people have followed, but you were definitely one of the first. How can people find you online, and how can they connect with you otherwise? We're going to get back into our normal routine. How can they practice with you?
Okay, so right now we're on a private Facebook group, White Rock Yoga group. There's a White Rock Yoga page, and there's a White Rock Yoga group. Didn't really think about how I was titling it, but that's how it is. I probably could have called it something smarter. But at any rate, right now, I just started it to keep the community together, to students who had active passes. And then I had other people saying, well, how can I get on it? And there is, if you go, it's not quite on my website yet. I haven't gotten around to fixing that. But we have an app, White Rock Yoga Dallas app, on your smartphone or iPad. You can pull that up, set up an account, and you can find there, we do like 30 days for $30 and unlimited. So we have a class every day, plus they're all archived and you can go up and down them. And they're an hour. All of them are an hour. So you can practice as you want. And so that's how you can find us. Our studio is in East Dallas, Casa Linda area, great area. And it's at 9225 Garland Road. But, that thing about the video, I know we're running out of time, but one of my students, Lindsay Rago, R-A-G-O, she does Rago Fitness. She's amazing. She'd been on me for about a year saying, you need to do more on Facebook. You need to get online. You need to do video. And I go, yeah. And it's not that I don't like technology. I do, but I didn't love social media. I don't know how I'm a little bit softer to it. But it's like so when I realized I was going to have to ramp up to this, I texted her and she gave me about a 45-minute phone call tutorial, and I was up and running by 7 a.m. the next morning. So, it's just, and then I've taught a couple of other of my yoga teacher friends in other towns. And so it's like we're all figuring this out together. We're all just making this up as we go along. And that's the other thing. None of us have been through this, so we don't know. We want certainty, but it's never there. It's just now we know it's not there.
Yeah. John and I were talking about that right now, that I think one of the benefits actually of this situation, because there's always benefits to everything, is we are forced into action. We're forced to make decisions, what seems like quicker, like you said, to stay in front of our audience, or, just really deal with it. And so we're sort of learning things faster. We're more attuned to them. We're more attuned to them. And so it's really I think it will make us better business people in the end. It's going to hurt a little bit until we get there. It's going to hurt a lot until we get there. But in the end, when we do make it out of this, and we will be better for it. Hopefully it will be sooner than later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. You're always a light of inspiration, and I know you've added so much value into everybody's life. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Dallas. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.